Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
I'm Steph.
And I'm Ange.
We're
Nerdazons.
That was a top job.
Yay! I had to cover your face. We laugh too much when we do this.
Okay, before we go on to anything, just wanted to say since lockdown, I've actually been really enjoying Riverside Brewery Company's Tropico beer. Oh my gosh, it's so good, and a bit of ASMR. It even just blew on my face.
That sounds so wrong. Hashtag not sponsored. This isn't a sponsored episode.
No.
But we just like to tell you guys things that are happening in our life. Satisfying?
Yes. Delicious.
Good. So this episode was my choice. I chose Robocop because, I don't know, I wanted to rewatch some of the old films that I watched as a kid, and I didn't really remember.
This was a remake.
I knew it was a remake because I feel like this one and Judge Dredd, I feel like they came out around the same time. And same with Total Recall. I think that came out, the remake, they all came out around the same time.
When I was watching this, because I'd never seen it before ever, and
Yep.
they came on, I was like, but you're not Arnold Schwarzenegger. What? What? And then I was totally convinced that he was in this movie, but I think that's because I got him confused with Total Recall.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is I have a fun fact.
Okay, we're getting into this before we start.
We are. So going back to what I was saying about Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was actually considered for the role. However, they thought he would look too hulky to be in the suit.
Ah, yeah, you know what? I feel like he would ruin the character. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think...
I'm going to put it out there. I freaking loved the first one. Sorry, how about time out?
Time
How
out.
about you tell us what it's
Rewind,
about?
Steph. And then let's just start
I just
from
get
there.
too excited to talk.
You do. I love that about you. Robocop 1987. In a dystopic and crime-ridden Detroit, a terminally wounded cop returns to the force as a powerful cyborg haunted by submerged memories. So Robocop 2014. This one's a lot longer, actually. In 2028, Detroit, when Alex Murphy, a loving husband, father, and good cop, is critically injured in the line of duty, the multinational conglomerate Omnicorp sees their chance for a part man, part robotic police officer. Already, I feel like I could break that down with the notes that I was going to go through.
So this is my first time ever watching it. And once I got over the fact that it wasn't Arnold, which kind of broke my heart a little bit. However, I think Peter Weller did an amazing job as Murphy. He was
so good.
So good and so charismatic. I was totally on his side.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to break down the story. With the old one, at the beginning in the newscast, it already gave you an idea of the political state and like the massive corporations in this Detroit, right? And they already predicted that Murphy something was going to happen to him, because they said when they were talking about the project that they were going to move their top candidates in high risk areas. So Then that's when you went to Murphy. I feel like they went through it really, really quickly. Like they didn't linger on him as a person. They just went in there. They showed you the one soft point about his family. He got hit and then the story moved on. Whereas in the new one, I paused it at one point. My partner was playing a game because he'd seen it. Paused it and I said, we're an hour into the film and the rampage hasn't even started. They went too far into building his character's backstory. And it just shows how a little goes a long way in the original.
Yes, I agree. The first one, I was like, this is amazing. It is tacky, but perfect. And I loved the violence. I loved
so gory. I loved it.
Swearing and things like that. And then I just have to read you one of the notes I wrote was...
Also, massive shock for me. I'm cutting you off here. I'm so sorry. But I was watching it and I'm like, hey, that's red. that's Red Foreman. And then
That's
I'm
exactly
like,
what I said. Oh,
because I was
that's
just
what I was
like,
going to tell
he
you.
looks the same and he sounds the same, just like with slightly less wrinkles. But then he looks the same now, and I'm like, wow, like you've aged the same in this short time frame. In like 34 years, you're the same. I think it was 34.
And that's blowing my mind that it's 34 years old.
I know, right? I still think of the 80s as like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
And I
But
still think the 90s is 10 years ago.
I know, same. But I think that's hilarious that we both had the, oh my God.
I know. I wasn't
so-
expecting him to be in it.
No, neither. So going back, so the second one, so the first one, I watched it. I laughed my head off. I was like, this is great. You know, I really loved the characters. I
Yes.
loved Kurtwood Smith or Red as Clarence. I loved the fact that the villain was there and the villain was completely missing in the second one. I feel like the ones who killed Murphy or blew him up, they died, whatever, and it wasn't as impactful, the death.
I agree. So I think with the story in the second one, as I mentioned, it got an hour before he did his initial rampage, and that is pretty much the whole storyline of the first one. He got killed, he got brought back to life, like fully robotic, and then he slowly got his memory back, and he's like, I'm gonna go and kill all those mother effers and like rampage. And it was epic. It was so over the top violent that it was good. But yeah, in the second one, it just took so long. Even the impact of his death, it wasn't like he didn't even die. So that's a big difference in the story plot hole there.
That was hilarious though, is when he was dying in the original, and then you're like, how can anybody survive that? He had like 65 shots.
Many. That's what I said.
And then they're like try to revive him, whereas the other guy's one shot near them and they're dead. That's what I love about these cheesy movies.
Yeah, I remember watching it, and because I didn't remember that scene, and my partner's like, wait for it, and then I'm like, how is he still alive by copying like 10 different shots from shotguns, So it just was ridiculous. But in the first one, he didn't even get shot. It was just his car blew up and he was severely burnt. So when he got taken in, he still had a pulse, I think.
Yes.
So they were trying to keep him alive, and then they brought the wife in to be like, oh, you got to sign the waiver so we can do it. Whereas in the other one, he was dead. He was legally dead. So it already developed his character further, because his whole character journey, it's not about the rampage or anything. It's about him accepting who he is. So in the original, he kept referring to, he had a wife and kid, or like, he had this. He didn't accept himself to be Murphy until the very end, when the old man, and he was just like, what's your name? And he actually accepted who he was, and he's like, I'm Murphy. And that was a little subtle character journey, but it was impactful. Whereas in this one, it was hard to feel bad for him when he had the memories when he came out. You know what I mean? He already had the memories, and then he lost the memories, and then he got them back, and it's just like it wasn't impactful as waking up and not remembering and slowly remembering.
Yes, I agree. Also, I'm going to say with the original, I loved Lewis.
Yes,
she was amazing.
Ellen.
She was very talented, very charismatic, and I liked that there was no love interest between them.
Yes.
Usually when there's a male and a female in a, you would, and he's lost his wife, how easy would it have been for them to get together? No, so, I loved that.
Just on Nancy Allen as Lewis, I was reading up on that, and this film blurred the binary gender divide. So when they went into the locker room at the beginning and they had everyone there, they didn't over-sexualize the girls as they were getting changed. They just made it like everyone is there and everyone is equal. And with Lewis's character, they had her specifically have a helmet on when you first saw her, because she was kicking butt, and then she takes the helmet off and it's like, she's a chick. And
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool. And I agree with you. I think it was so much better that there was zero sexual tension between them. They were just mates. They were like friends on the front line, serving together. And I thought that was a stronger relationship than what you see in some. Like, for instance, in Dread with Stallone and Keaton. And it's just like, you could just be mates, you know?
I agree. But whereas, you know, Michael Kenneth Williams as Jack Lewis in the new one, all I was just thinking was, I am the captain now. I just, he wasn't anything. You know, he wasn't memorable at all in this one.
Yeah, I agree. Like, Lewis was in the original, she was like a grounding character to help bring him back to who he was and his humanity. But I think you couldn't really have that in Lewis in the new one, is because we might as well hit the elephant in the room. They changed the biggest pothole and they introduced characters. They introduced the wife and the child.
Oh,
like his
my God.
son. There was no impact in bringing her and him into the story. Like, she didn't add any additional value. All she was there as was, she's the wife. We can't let the wife see them. She just became a problem at the end with the helicopter. So why bring her in?
Oh my God, I agree so much.
And
And she's such a weak character.
yes.
You know, that's also very weak in the storyline, is that, you know, the wife and the son was the reason why he found who he was. And I really hate that they introduce women in movies to create a problem. They introduced his wife into the show to create, oh, there's a problem now, there's a wife here, we've got to protect her. And I just hate when that happens.
Yeah, I knew it was going to come at the end. As soon as I'm like, oh, she will be the hostage in a hostage situation. It was very obvious, but I just thought you only needed that 10-second memory clip in the original for them to be impactful enough. Like, his journey was to accept that, yeah, he wasn't always around for his kid. He unfortunately did get separated, but it was also the key point that helped him realize, yes, I am Murphy. I'm not a Robocop. As I said, I don't think adding the wife and child into it was really impactful. And then the only way that triggered him from starting to remember, like when they wiped his memory, again, I didn't feel anything for him when he lost his memory, because she was still there. She was still around trying to see him. So you knew he was going to get his memory back. So it wasn't as impactful. But when she was telling him, you know, you got to see your son, he's getting bullied, and then for him to access everything is what helped trigger him to remember who he was. And I'm like, I thought it was done better in the original.
One of the other notes, going back to the original, is that I wrote down 2 notes. I wrote down that it's hilarious that the droids couldn't go down the stairs, just like the original Daleks. And I was just laughing at that. And then the other part is, when he was running away from the droid, I thought he was on shutdown mode, but I like the fact that he still had enough energy to run and, you know, shoot all these guys and save the day.
Oh, he's not running. He's confronting all the corrupt cops. Yes, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
When he's at the end, and he almost shoots the captain.
Yeah. So
I
thought that was also hilarious when Robocop zoom in. He's like, you can't attack employees, and then he's like, you're fired. Boom, boom,
yes,
boom.
That was so good. And he's like, thank you. And it was so quick. It's funny because if anyone out there watches Bob's Burgers like I do, there is actually...
I love Bob's Burgers now.
Have you seen the episode when Bob's starting to lose his hair and then the kids come up with 3 different stories, and Jean had like a Robocop but with the mustache version? And then I forgot, like, because I didn't really remember Robocop and I didn't remember the directives, and at the end all I can think of, and I can't believe I didn't think that the directives were going to come into it until the end, and when I saw Directive 4 and he was going to go and like arrest that guy, I'm like, oh my god, Bob's Burgers. And his like directive is he can't attack the wharf owner.
Oh, that's hilarious. The mayor,
yeah, it's such a good episode and I recommend you watch it, especially after we talk about this one.
Thanks, Amber. I've got her Disney, so I've been binging a few of the Bob's Burgers episodes.
Yeah, I love Bob's Burgers. I've seen them all.
It's pretty good.
As you know, the original, and I think this is something that worked in its favor compared to the second one, the remake, but the original had a very strong satire on policing and corporate greed. They did this a lot through showing especially what happens in the boardroom. And I want to like talk about the scene when they bring out the gun, and the poor like accountant guy just gets like shot like 100 times, and everyone's like, I'm gonna go to lunch now. How are you sane after seeing something like that in the boardroom?
That's exactly what I was gonna say as well. Just how are you not like shocked or crying, not thinking of food, not going,
then, like,
it's 1 o'clock, I better go to lunch.
And then the chairman, and he just puts his head down in his hands, and then the other guy comes across and he's like, we've got a better product, we can do this. And I'm just like, you guys just witnessed a poor innocent man getting slaughtered with bullets, and you're talking about your next project. Are you not concerned with the insurance and liabilities that your company is now going to face?
I agree. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And also the graphics were pretty sick in the fact that, when you see him and he's just like a head and just like a spine, that was way cooler in the original than it was in the remake.
And I have to say he looked way more, kind of move off topic here to the makeup and stuff, but his facial makeup where it looked like the skin was pulled back and like stapled, almost like a skin graft, but it looked so much better for something that was done 34 years ago compared to the new one when it was very obvious he was just wearing like a cap. So the skin didn't look like it was going over the mechanics. The mechanics went over his face, and it just looked like a guy in a suit, not someone, like not a robot where they've just grafted a face to it, which is another like interesting piece of, I don't know if we would call this the story or the character, but talking about Murphy, they really humanized him in the second one compared to the first one. So in the first one, he was completely dead, right? And then, he had an arm left, unlike it wasn't shot off by the shotgun, but like he still had that piece, and it just showed you how much they dehumanized him when the main guy comes across, named Morton. The main scientist is like, lose the arm, like cut it off, like he's got to be fully robotic. So it just shows you how much they dehumanized him with just his skin and his face, whereas in the new one, they kept part of the arm. He had his face, and I think he had his lungs and stuff still, whereas I don't think he had all those insides in the other one. So he was much more humanized.
He was, and I liked the fact that they told you what he ate.
Yeah, but they did that
where you just like, but it wasn't, I don't know, it made more sense in the original that he just eats slop. It's nutritious.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have to have it injected into him.
Yeah, I liked that. It was gross when the guy was like eating it, and I'm like, ew.
But then again, I'm sorry, but how does he poop if he's eating actual food in the original?
Oh my God. These are the questions that we need.
That will never be answered.
I know. Oh my God, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. And Morton and Jones were like such great evil villains.
Can we talk about the one weird, almost the only sexual tension in the whole movie scene between them? I don't know if you noticed this, but it was weird, and I was just like, this is so odd.
What was that part?
So like when they're in the bathroom together, and so Jones comes over and he just like brushes his hair before he grabs his hair, and he's like, you've messed with the wrong person. But before he does that, he like just brushes his fingers over the side of his face, and I'm like, this is so creepy and ew. It looks like you're like gonna kiss him or something, but wrong, he just wants to kill you.
Yeah, but I think the villains were so much better than Michael Keaton and Alex Murphy.
Oh, for sure. Like it really emphasized, again, back to that point, the corporate greed. And this is the point that my twin made, actually, because I was talking to him, and he's like, did you notice that to show how rich and powerful you were back in the 80s when you didn't have futuristic stuff, is you just stack TVs on top of each other. So, in the boardroom, it just had masses of TVs stacked together. And then in Morton's house, when he gets killed, he's just got like 4 or 5 big TVs stacked together to make it look like he was rich. And I'm like, oh my God, it worked because I didn't even
Also,
really pay attention.
the amount of drugs.
Yeah, and they really emphasized that, once you get rich, that's where all your money goes. You don't care about your job.
No, it's all just coke, apparently.
And women,
Yeah, I liked this, but I will just mention quickly music. I liked the fact in the original that the music was orchestral and synthesizing to then give us the feeling of the robot and kind of set that mood. Whereas I think this one was too much rock and roll and it just didn't suit the movie.
Yeah, I feel like they tried to jam pack a lot in the new one, and that was my takeaway from it.
There was too many storylines.
Yes. Oh my God, that was my biggest gripe with the new film.
Yeah.
Like you introduced the wife and the son. They had their own storylines. They had their own problems where they were getting bullied or she couldn't go and see her husband and things like that. Then you introduced additional storylines to Murphy. He built the character up. Like I said, it took an hour for him to go and do his rampage. So you spent an hour of him adjusting to being a cyborg and then having his memory wiped only to get it back again. It was
then you've got Michael Keaton's role and
Gary Oldman, their whole story
role, and then you have his partner's role, plus then it was just too many, and I was just we've got to fit all this in. It was just
Yeah, and I feel like, especially with the storylines, they really, I don't know, I feel like it was a hit and a miss with the company's storyline. So in the original, it was really black and white. You saw that it was the company, it was straightforward. They had two projects. One wanted to out-trump the other one because they wanted to be, the lead. So what do? Is they go to terminate the other project, Rampage start, and then you get rid of the guy. It was just really simple, and they really showed how corrupt they were, whereas it didn't seem very corrupt in the other one. It didn't seem corrupt until they started saying, don't let the wife see him. That was the only time really when you started to see, because Michael Keaton in the new one, his story was, I have a company and I need to please the people. What do I do? So at that point, I don't think he had a hidden directive, which that's another thing I want to say. Mm-hmm. I didn't like the way they changed the directive. It wasn't even called a directive for the Robocop. It was it was a red target. And I'm it didn't even make sense to me to change that. I don't know. Yeah. That was just my gripe with the storyline. It's just too much.
Even to the suit. The suit was the original one, sick. It looked like a robot. It looked futuristic.
Yeah.
It looked really cool. Whereas this one was too sleek and it just looked like a guy wearing a suit. It didn't look like he was part robot. It didn't look any of that at all.
I agree. I definitely didn't like it. I want to ask your opinion. What did you think of the news reports? So compared to the original to the
original
new one.
was great. The original was great because that's what it was. It was, 7 o'clock news time. And I guess they've updated the times in the fact that, we can watch news, we can get any information whenever we want at any time. So I guess that they're good each for their time.
I was going to say, I actually think the news setting was good for each. Yeah, I don't think one outdid the other. In the original, I think they were talking about the cold tensions in the Cold War and nukes that went off and things like that. And then they went to the family advert of the family playing Nukem.
And the family car.
Yeah, and I just thought that was really funny. But in the new one, I kind of liked that they made the news reporters question what's right for, the people in society. But then at the same time, it really showed how heavily controlled it was, because when certain things were going to be released, Samuel L. Jackson's they've terminated you here and they've cut the feed. And they showed that as well. And I thought, that's pretty cool, showing how controlled even the media is and things like that. But for this time as well. So I thought both were pretty good for the film. I know we haven't spoken.
Jackson was a waste of time for me. It could have been done by anybody. But before you go on, sorry, I just want to talk about the bad guy again, Clarence.
He's so good.
I loved the fact that in the original, you saw him. He killed people and he killed them dead.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just like bang, you're dead. It was like brrr,
Yeah.
brrr, like showers of bullets. That's and I hated that they killed him straight away. Like going back to the storyline, I couldn't. I was just like, really? That's it? And now you're gonna make Michael Keaton the bad guy? And sorry.
Yeah, so that was another thing. It's a double-edged sword because I actually think one of the only good scenes that I liked from the new one was the gunfight scene in the dark where you only saw things because of the bullets coming out. I thought that was a cool scene. Like I didn't mind watching that scene. However, they were the biggest part of the original, that gang. Like it's the Rampage. Yeah. And like I said, an hour in 10 minutes and they were gone. And I'm like, what did I just watch?
And the fact that Robocop takes down, drug lords and all of this kind of stuff. But what does he do in the new one? He goes into simulations, no, that's not Robocop.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think they tried to really go into the science behind it, but I think unfortunately they went too far and they wasted 2/3 of the film trying to make sure that he was an ideal candidate and an ideal project to be able to function out there, when in the old one it's like, nah, he can do the job, just send him out. And he wasn't even police. Like he immediately went out on his own in the original, and he wasn't being watched. Like they weren't watching what was on his visor, so they didn't really know he was hunting them down
they
until
had the
later.
GPS thing, but I mean that was probably not very good.
Yeah, so he kind of had the freedom in the original one to do that, whereas in this one they watched every little thing he watched, and it was just like Big Brother's watching even the Robocop. I think they lost the key point, the main story, the main basic story. They lost that in the new one. So I just want to mention one last thing because I mean, I feel like we know exactly what our opinions are going to be of these films, but I want to mention one thing, and I don't know if you noticed this like I did, or if maybe I'm just thinking they look the same. But when he was in the original one, when Lewis brought him to the abandoned warehouse, and he was asking, he had a family, what happened to them, da 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 da. That looked like, when he was sitting there and she was sleeping, it looked like the same place that Arnie went to in Total Recall when he ripped the thing out of his head.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was watching it. I'm like, hey, this looks oddly familiar. And then
maybe they borrowed the set.
I think they all came out around the same time. So because you also have some elements that I feel were really inspired by Blade Runner, which came out, I think, a few years prior. So, that introduced for example, the end of the original one, which I think was so impactful, when Lewis says, I'm really hurt, and then Murphy's like, they'll fix it. They fix everything. It was so sorrowful the way he said it, and it was really impactful. It just reminded me of Blade Runner at the end, how impactful that scene was and how good the script was. And yeah, I can definitely feel other inspirations on Robocop in this one. I can't really see it in the new one at all. Okay, I think I could continue ranting about these films for quite some time, but I know we are on a limited time frame within our episodes, so I'm going to wrap it up here, Steph, and ask how many movie reels you give these films.
I think we could all gather what I'm going to be giving them. However, what I'm going to say is why I give Remake this. Okay, so I'm just going to read what I wrote. My biggest question is, why did they even bother making this movie? Money. It didn't even make the fans pleasantly surprised. The graphic violence was missing. The memorable villain was missing. A waste of time, and it accomplished nothing. If the movie's ever on and I'm too lazy to switch the channel, then yeah, I'll keep it on. But what I also wanted to say is it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. So for that, I'm going to give it a 1.5.
That was my score.
No way.
No, seriously, I've been sitting here thinking, and I'm like, okay, it's not the worst remake that I had a massive thought process in my head too. Oh my gosh, yeah. No, because I'm like, I always give it a 0.5, and I'm like, no, but they're the really bad remakes that we've done. Whereas, yeah, I agree. I wouldn't go out of my way to put it on, but if it's on, yeah, I'd watch it. It wasn't the worst remake.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So with the original, this, okay, I went in
I wonder
and
if we're the
I was
same. We
like,
should say it at the same time.
okay,
But I'll
before
let you
I,
finish. Yeah.
thank you. That's really nice of you to let me finish.
Sorry. Sorry.
Just been a smarter. Lockdown is killing me. So anyway, what I wanted to say is with the original, I was not like I said, I was expecting Arnold. And oh my gosh, this movie was so good from the beginning. You know, and you're right. There was no like sexual tension. There was like it wasn't a romance film in any way. And that's what I liked about it, is that it was just an action movie. It was just, oh my God, I loved this movie. I'm going to give it a
Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. Oh.
I actually was going to 4.5.
I feel like the kombucha go. Oh, so do we agree, or did you change because I said that?
No. I was being a smart ass because I wanted to know if you went 4.5. So I was like 4.5.
Yeah. No, I think that's so funny. We agreed on the same this one. That's weird. And like, just so you know, we did not discuss this prior to recording.
You did not. I wonder if I'll get the Rotten Tomatoes done.
Well, that's your fun for this one. But no, I agree with 4.5. Loved this film. I absolutely loved how disgustingly gory it was. I forgot to mention, but that's something else that the remake really did fail on, is they took the comedy factor out of it. Like the gang, you can see that I mean, it was a terrible humor, but they had fun and they laughed and they were just violent, and they just really missed that with the gang in the new one, who were in it for like a whole of 5 seconds.
I know. I'm gonna leave the 2014 at I wouldn't pay $1 for it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either. I also want to mention one last thing. Can we just talk about how epic the shot was in the original when he shot the guy through the woman's skirt? Because I'm like, he's gonna shoot her leg. Like I kept sitting there thinking, what is he doing? He's gonna fail. He's gonna get like sent back, and then bang, it went right through into his crotch.
And then I was expecting a bit of that gore as well of but
it was so good.
Innocent.
Nobody can win them.
Because I'm not a prude. I like swearing when it's applicable. I don't like people that swear or swearing for the sake of it. Whereas the 80s one, it was an action film where it's just like, yeah, you know, flip this, brrr, and it was like appropriate for that movie. Whereas some movies, you're just like, really, what's the point of that swearing? What was the point of that?
Yeah.
So that's why it also got a higher rating, is because it was just an epic movie.
They just had every element in the right spot for that film. It had the right timing. The storyline moved, like it flowed perfectly. The perfect amount of action and gore. You can't go wrong. And it was like a single line, like storyline to follow. I didn't need to follow 5 different storylines.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think the original got on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm going to go 96%.
Close.
Higher or lower? 92%.
Oh, so close. It got
93.
90.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's like a high distinction.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. That's well and truly above average.
That's an A.
Yeah.
Not
all right.
an A plus.
No, it should be. But what do you think the remake got?
I'm gonna go something like 36%.
Higher.
What?
I know.
Like what? I'm gonna go 47%.
So close. It was 48.
Oh my gosh! That's boo for me not getting it right.
I feel like this one could have got maybe a 40. Like, I think 40 demonstrates that it was okay. You wouldn't go out of your way to watch it, but if it was on it's not the end of the world. Let's move on to
Nerdazons Nerdy Notables.
Okay, So I got Shudder for a trial.
The horror one.
Yeah. And then there's a
Oh,
movie on there that
that's
I
not that
think
great.
you
Waste of
would
money.
like. I've only just got it for a trial because I'm getting into slightly slowly horrors.
Is this the one you were mentioning to me about, like that you messaged me about?
The one that I was going to tell you is that it's called Slacks, and it's about a killer pair of jeans. And I thought you would
Oh my
like this movie.
God. That sounds right up my alley. I love B grade.
SLA triple X,
Hang on,
and
wait.
the trailer looks
I
amazing.
actually feel like I may have. Wait, SLA double X. Oh no, it's a newer one. I love B grade horror films, and especially B grade comedy horror films. It's my absolute favorite genre to ever watch. Like, I am always up for it. They're so bad that they're so good. So I have to see this
say
film.
you should come over and watch it, but then I realized lockdown. So you need to watch that movie.
Yes, I shall. Probably not for a while though.
I know.
Because I have
I think
exams
I've
coming up.
pretty much watched all of Netflix.
Yeah, you messaged me that like almost a month ago saying I've watched all of this, and I'm like, wow, I have been doing zero amounts of TV watching.
I know, but I'm learning how to do makeup.
Ooh.
And I'm also going to learn how to crochet, and I'm currently doing a dragon egg dice bag.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm really keen for my uni to come on break again, because I think I need a good screen break, and I should pull my crochet blanket that I started last year.
Or you should read Stardust.
I mean, I've listened to it. I don't need to go and read it now.
Oh.
Wow. But I do have another book to listen to. So if I crochet, I can listen to my books at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'll go back to my Star Trek blanket.
And also we finished this campaign of D&D.
Yeah.
I couldn't win. We did Horde of the Dragon.
I reckon you would have won if you didn't see how annoyed I got.
And also on the second last game just went, you know what? You guys are at level 15. It's fine.
Even then, I don't think that would have helped. Like, there was at one point where, you know, we thought we were really strategic, and we're like, that's it, bring the roof down, it'll smash it on them. And they're like, no, it didn't. And we're like, we need to fly away. So we flew away. And she's like, but are they dead? And I'm like, are you kidding? And I was like, this is ridiculous. And I think, and you were just like, no, they're dead. And I'm like...
And then one of the characters could turn into something they see. So they turned into the bloody Dragon Queen, and then they had a fight off. And I'm just like, are you kidding me?
And so we knew all the stats then. We knew exactly what the dragon had. I think we were just very lucky that someone had that. Because it would have ended very differently if we didn't have that.
Exactly. But it was fun, and I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, I would definitely love to play again, but sadly I'll be increasing my uni workload as of next semester. So
how dare you be a proper adult and get a degree?
How dare I not have done this when I was younger? That's all I can say.
I have been watching the new season of Atypical on Netflix. Oh my gosh, it's just the cutest, most beautiful, wholesome show. Season 4's out, and I'm sad that means it's the end of the show. So what I did was, before I watched the last episode, I'm going back and rewatching it again, so then that way I can
savor the last episode.
Yeah.
I've been watching, it's become quite a routine actually. So on a Friday night I watched the newest episode of The Bad Batch, so the Star Wars series that's been coming out. And then on a Saturday morning before I go and do all my uni work, I watched the Screen Crush YouTube breakdown of the episode, and then Monday nights I've been watching the new episodes of Rick and Morty. So that's pretty much where I've been at. Really loved this week's episode of Rick and
I
Morty.
haven't seen it.
All I can say is it's very Hellraiser themed. And I love it because it's themed like that. That's
Okay.
really it.
I'm very excited right now.
Yeah, it was a good app. I liked it. But yeah, that's where I am. And the Bad Batch, I strongly recommend if anyone who loves like the Star Wars cartoons, especially like if you like Attack the Clones and stuff, go and watch the Bad Batch. It's so good.
Okay. I haven't even started Loki yet.
Me either. I was waiting for it to finish, which I think it just finished this weekend. And then we'll probably binge it next weekend. So
I haven't even watched Winter Soldier. I think
that one was good. Watch it.
I'm just watching YouTube mainly at the moment.
That's what I usually do. I tend to watch like vlogs. That's really
I mean, Mum and I have our own show that we watch together. So we started off with watching Schitt's Creek, and then we moved on to Dexter, the sister, and now we're watching The Fall, which is on SBS, and it's got Gillian Anderson and Jamie Dorhan, the guy out of 50 Shades. Oh my gosh, I think you would actually like it. It's a thriller about Jamie Dornan's a serial killer and he kills people. Then Gillian Anderson's a copper trying to figure out who he is.
Can I just say Gillian Anderson's having a massive like resurgence in her acting career, and I love it.
I know, she is amazing.
She is so good.
I know. But yeah, if you like her, watch The Fall.
Yeah, I've been looking for like some good crime. Well, I haven't really watched any in a while, and
because you like Marcella, yeah?
What?
Marcella?
I don't think I've seen it. No, it's Midsummer Murders
Netflix.
that I usually watch.
No. Then you would like Marcella on Netflix.
I have to watch it, but I really do like Midsummer Murders so much so that I actually watched random like repeat episodes yesterday.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I just think it has the right mix. So to me, it's not. I don't know. I feel like a lot of newer crime shows now really focus on psychology aspects and things like that. Whereas to me, I think the element that I like is I like solving the puzzle. So a Midsummer has that perfect mix of you've got little bits of the crime scene and then you solve it as you go through.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of them are very focused on psychology and like Mindhunters and things like that. And I like the puzzle side of it. Which is why I like Midsummer, and I just think it's the perfect mix. And Vera, they're my two favorite probably crime shows, and both of them are on hiatus. Rude because of COVID. So
well, Dune has a release date of 22nd of October.
Yay, let me see my October episode. Just spoiler alert for you listeners out there. Hopefully it's supposed to be the Candyman. I have been keeping my eye on this, and I just want to check the release date they have.
At that, so to jump in, I'm actually choosing something completely different for myself in October.
So Candyman's supposed to come out in August. Yeah, your October ep. I remember seeing that, like, not that I'm going to get too into this for our listeners, but the October ep, I remember seeing.
We'll leave that as top secret for me so I can be like,
All I'm going to say is I remember seeing it as a kid and I know the premise of it, but I need to rewatch it to fully understand it. So, I mean, I don't need to understand it. I know the story of it, but to remember it, I need to rewatch it.
I'll give you all a clue. It has John Travolta. It does.
The new one?
No, the original.
Oh my gosh. I only know the original. I know the original actress. That's as far as. Oh, you've given it away. I've been trying.
Fine. I'm doing Carrie.
Okay. I tried so hard to not like give that away.
Also, by me saying I'm going to do something different, John Travolta, that didn't give it away either.
So much for being like secretive. But anyway, that's our October choices, everybody, is a nice Halloween filled month. But the Halloween filled month starts prior to that. but we'll talk about that as we come on. That one will remain a
So,
secret.
Next fortnight, we're doing Independence Day, which is my choice, and I think that's a appropriate episode for
Yeah, I didn't have any urge to watch the delayed sequel, but I guess this is something to force me to watch it.
Well, I didn't even know it was a remake or anything until I walked past
It's
the
a delayed
kitchen.
sequel, isn't it?
I have no idea because okay, I need to tell you how I'm choosing this movie.
Okay. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
I know, but I'll end up repeating it again. But the reason why I chose this is because I walked past the kitchen, Mum had Home and Away going, and I was like, ugh. Next minute it said Saturday Night Special, Independence Day Insurgent. I was like, they did a remake? I want to choose that.
Oh my
So
gosh.
next Home and Away.
Wow, thanks. Thanks for making us watch this. I'm pretty sure it's a delayed sequel. I can't let this go until I actually check now. So prove a point
Yep.
that I knew it was a delayed sequel. The synopsis, 2 decades after the first Independence Day invasion. Boom. And I
You
didn't even pay
win.
attention. Yes.
Okay, so we're doing so instead of doing a remake next episode, we will be doing a delayed sequel.
Which is fine. It still fits in our comparative.
Exactly. Okay, so if you want to follow us on socials, we are on Facebook and Instagram under Nerdazons. You can email us at nerdazons@outlook.com, and you can listen to us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget, we do have merch at the Craft Caster on Teespring, but that's all for now. So stay nerdy.